Hello everyone. I'm going to be continuing today with the Elixis Mundi, with the Arieopax format. I'm not going to go into back details. If you don't know what this is about, then you probably should wait and read up on it or watch a few of the other videos before you watch this one. But this is sort of a spin-off from my most recent video Zoomcast that was, I think I called it Elixis Mundi 101 or something like that. And we were talking about the process of activating one's personal or internal Arieopax dynamic. In the video, I showed this image that I'd created. The purple one is the Arieopax overlaid on the man. And the little pyramids are the 7 suns. Again, you'll need back information on that. And I was talking about it in the video, so I'm not going to go over it too much here. But this shows the placement of these energies in the field and how it works. Now, each one of these 7 suns is a self-contained holographic potential. It's like waiting to be turned on, unfolded. And so one can take any one of these 7 sun worlds, as those calls them, the sun worlds, and create a world dynamic, a hologram for the body field within it. What this means is that in addition to having these sun worlds as, whole stages for ascension dynamics that actually goes on in the solar sun of our system, at least related to our holographic projection, we're also seeing that it has the potential of creating these hollow fields for the body. Now, what do the hollow fields do? Well, let's say you're in a blue hollow field, a blue sun hollow field. You would have to look at the properties of that blue sun, which are identified in the previous videos that I made on it, and information that I have written. That would be the basic underlying properties of what you would experience in that hollow field. But let's say you wanted to, and if you were doing that, you would have the ability to integrate that hollow field with the greater field that you're living in. And it would more strongly focus you into the dimension and the capabilities and the aspects of the field of the sun that was in your personal holograph, the one that you're carrying around with you. Now, if you were to bring several of these together, let's say the blue, the purple, the yellow, you could have them intersecting and intermerging to create a larger perspective hollow field. So, you can go on and on with that. However, the more hollow fields of the 7 suns, we're speaking just of those, because there's other things we could do here, but we're not talking about that. Of the 7 sun fields, the more of them that you incorporate into your personal hollow field, the more you need to be able to control that and define it in your mental capacity. By that I mean the brain is triggering these signals that are creating the hollow fields, and if you can't integrate them properly, you could get kind of messed up there trying to do a whole bunch at once if you were seriously working with it, So it takes a really advanced being, is what I'm saying, to operate, let's say, all 7 sun hollow fields at once. And if you could do that, you'd be Thoth. In other words, you'd be a master luminary if you could do that, because he does it, but we don't. And that doesn't mean that you can't, experiment with working with one or two. Try one at first and see how what happens with it. But we're actually not talking right now about how to create one of those. I'm just giving you an overview idea of that. What we want to look at creating today, understanding how to create it, is a very basic Arieopax Siegel field spin. Very basic. But I just wanted you to understand how these sun worlds, the potential of that, before we continue. Okay, so here we have our little aerial Holloman, and you'll notice there is this orange circle around him, and I have a picture of a really sort of fancy esoteric swastika here on the side. Now, I believe all of you know that the swastika is truly a sacred symbol, and it was defiled or attempted to be defiled by the Nazis, but it's actually quite sacred and long-standing as such and cannot be defiled. I shouldn't have used the word defiled. It was just taken in negative propaganda. So all pure symbols, it is a pure symbol, and all pure symbols cannot be defiled in their spiritual dynamics. You can take them and you can use them any way you want on the 3D, but it's not going to defile them. Now, you can create vortices and energy fields with these, some of these dynamics, and those fields can mess you up if you don't know how to use them, or you're trying to use them for negative purposes. It's going to backlash on you. That kind of thing can happen. But the symbols themselves, as living dynamics, cannot be defiled. Because it's not a matter of defiling them. If you're misusing them, you're misusing them. You're not distorting them. So, looking back at the picture, you see this little orange circle going around this guy. Okay, so this is the orbit with, you can picture, I didn't put it in this, I should have done so. I didn't put it in this picture, but imagine the swastika right there at the point of intersection on the more or less the solar plexus of the I can't say his name, Vivitron man or whatever, Michelangelo's man. So if you put the swastika, but you put it not an up and down like this, but tilted so that it is going through him, you know, like this circle. You put it on the plane of the circle, the orange circle. Then you have the actual node in the Arieopax, that is the Siegel spinner field. So, what is a spinner field, a Siegel field? Going back up to my Spirit Mythos archive site, the definition of a spinner field, also called a Siegel field, a field for an energy system that spins out of a central point. These fields have an axis in constant rotation. They are responsible for holding a dynamic balance between the universe and the anti-universe. There are numerous spinner fields created in any given reality system to effect this balance. They keep the universe dynamic by a constant rotation of their axis at the center of the universe's atomic being. As the spinner spins, it creates momentum and a force field of hypergravity. Hypergravity is not like ordinary gravity, although the latter is influenced by it. The hypergravity of a spinner field creates interlinking patterns of receptivity from one system to another, forming an ever-expanding schematic of cooperative functions. Well, that's kind of like, I think, entanglement. I mean, when I wrote this many years ago, I didn't know anything about entanglement, you know, the quantum theory of entanglement, but I believe that's what that's talking about there, or it seems to be. So, there's something I wanted to mention here about this. I forgot what I was going to say. Okay, so let's continue here. So I want to take a look at this diagram here. Now, my colleague William Bueller created this template, this picture, this drawing, but it's based on the thothic information I received concerning the Arieopax and the positioning of the 16 points. These are major nodal points in the Arieopax, and you can see how they line up here. And there's a lot that could be said about this, but I just wanted to briefly show it to you right now because I'm trying to stay on topic with this particular video. So back to our Siegel field. Now this can spin left or right. I found this on the web showing that the left spin is negative and the right spin is positive. Now, this has to do with energy and not bad, good and bad. You know, it's an energy thing. But the, oh, I know what I was going to say from before. What was it called? Oh my gosh, now I can't think of the name of it. The Nutri-Universe is the center of the three universal package that every universe operates with. And the center is, for us, the Atosic universe. There's the other side, the antimatter side, and that is the anti-universe. Doesn't mean it's bad. It just means it's the negative plate of it. So you could say that this Siegel field that's spinning left conjures up the negative energy plate of the positive flow, which we see on the right. Now, every Arieopax that's created, Arieopax dynamic, the movement that is consigned to its outer expression is the positive right-handed spin. However, when it develops to a certain point, it will start creating the negative spin, and that launches it into multi-dimensional beingness. That is where it becomes a portal. You can spin it to the right to a certain momentum, let's say, and when you get to that numeric momentum, not so much a physical as we understand it, but a numeric light mathematical system, then it will have its light principle 40 moment. That's what Thoth calls it, you know, way back in time when he gave me that term. That means that's when we have the ascension. The whole planet goes into light principle 40. And that's a whole topic unto itself. But we can see here that the whole planet is going to have a Arieopax moment that allows it to have the Siegel spin in the center, moving from positive to negative, and then that's the flash point where we have the light principle 40 for the entire planet, or what stage it's in at that time, because the planet will go through a lot of stages before it reaches the point where this is going to happen. So it won't quite look like the planet we are used to now. It's not going to have everything that it has now, but it will be the old Earth still. But each of us individually can operate an Arieopax. And that's what happens with beings like Thoth and others who can just poof themselves wherever they want to go. So how do we affect this field? How do we begin to operate it so that it benefits an individual? Because we were speaking about how important it is for us to begin to operate in these fields on a very subtle level. I'm not talking about, poofing and going into another dimensional portal. As I said, it takes a pretty advanced understanding and spiritual connection to be able to just portal hop with your own little physical bodies. So we're not going to go there with these particular exercises. I just wanted to show you the potential of it and how beings do that. And of course the angelics do as well. Well, before we go on a little further, I do want to show you this other thing. I found this on the web, and this is very cool. And if you could just sort of imagine the Arieopax in man, going up and down in the center part of it. And it gives you an idea of the fluid flow, the flux that's going on in any toroidal field that's a dynamic. But you see, any toroidal field is going to have an Arieopax within it. The Arieopax, or what Thoth is calling it, I imagine you could call it a zillion different names, is key to the whole universe as we understand the word universe. All the dynamics of all the beings, of all the things, it is it. It is the center activator, I guess you could call it. And so this gives you an idea of the flow. Now, like an angelic being, for instance, you would see, I wish I had activated my little mouse thingy so I can point these things out to you, but I didn't. On the left and the right, the bulbous sides they're sticking out there on the sides of it. That could be seen as wings. And if you had an angelic person standing in the center, you would see the energies that they are rotating out of their signal field, and it would form light spectrums coming out, flashing, 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 that would look like wings. So that's where we got the symbology of the angelics having wings. And beings like Thoth and other beings of that nature, they can generate that kind of energy fields as well. And so here we are back again. Now, I don't have the tools, nor do I have the brain cells this time to create a huge, 3D dynamic video of how this works. I wish I did. Even if I did have the multi-dollars worth of software, I don't think with the learning curve it would take to operate it, I could even do it at this stage of my life. I could have years ago, but it's just not in the plate for me now. So what I'm stuck with is this. And so I'm going to do the best I can to show it, to try to explain it to you with it. There are a lot of ways you could activate the Arieopax, and William Bueller gave a really excellent one that I put out on, he gave it on the video, yes, the Elixis Mundi 101. He showed the technique that he's using in these synergy groups, and it's a really valid and good one, but it's a little complex. So I'm trying to come up with Thoth's help, a simpler one, because there's many ways that this could be done. And one of the things he showed me well, let me see. I'm going to take a moment to put this together. Well, okay, I had to stop and do another diagram so I could show you this. Now you see I added something here, this little trident-like thing in the center. This is a blossom stem dynamic. For those of you who know what I'm talking about, which is probably just Bill and Bart and a few others. But that's what it is. And there's a whole lot to be said about that, which we won't say right now. Anyway, it is a working system trigger dynamic. And it can be inserted into an Arieopax. Actually, it can be inserted into other formats, but let's just talk about this. To develop it, to unfold it, to get it to going. It's like a key or a switch. Probably a little bit of both. You might say the pole part is the key and the top part is the switch, or I don't know, something like that. Key switch. So what happens is when you insert this into the dynamic, and you can do this through a visualization. This is a symbol, and symbols are working functional equipment. They're tools that really work. They create a holographic projection in the brain, which then directs it to the function that is appropriate for it. And that is done through your intention. So here we have this key gear. It's kind of a little gear too. I've got all kinds of names for it. And so you insert it into your human Arieopax dynamic, and you can see that in your mind. Okay, you're standing there, you're sitting there, but you see yourself standing, whether you're standing or not, and you see yourself like this little guy, outstretched there, and you've got the key, the Arieopax on top of your system. You just sort of visualize it for a moment and intend that it's there, and then you insert the key function. That's what we're going to call it, the key function. This stem blossom thingy. And you know that the midpoint of the trident is going to be at the solar plexus. And the other 2 points just beyond the body a little bit. And the pole going through, between the legs down to the grounding principle in the earth. Mine didn't quite reach the ground, but it should be right there on the last bar of the Arieopax. Now, the thing about this key or gear, or whatever, is that when it starts activating and starts spinning the spinner field, which should be right on top of it, should have a little swastika there, but you can see the circle, that's the spinner field. The prongs start developing into more blossoms, more petals. So we have 3 petals here. The minute it starts spinning, it doubles itself. You have 4 petals. And each time it reaches a certain ratio of spin, it doubles itself. So it's exponential doubling, 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 doubling. Now, every time it doubles itself, it moves up a notch. Up as in from the ground floor up toward the top of the head, okay? So it's going to jump into maybe if it's going from the solar to it's going to follow the chakras. It's going to jump each chakra up, 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 up. Now, when it reaches the crown chakra, that's when the okay, let me think about that for a minute. Okay, Thoth is showing me that when it reaches the crown chakra, all these petals completely open up so that it is like a flat spinner field again. So in other words, it's like having a tulip that flattens out to become a daisy. And that daisy creates another spinner field. But this time, the spinner is launched like a frisbee. It's free of the geometry of the spinner field of the Arieopax, at least the one that it was in. And it acts as a connector to all universal planes of experience. It's like it connects all as one. Now, the being that's going through this process isn't going to be everywhere at once in the conscious perspective. We all are everywhere at once, really. But the dynamic is saying, okay, all potentials are open now. Which one do you want to choose? So if one were to bring that spinner field up to the crown chakra, and that occurs, for the ordinary human being, you and me, there's a cap on that. And that cap cannot be gone through unless the consciousness has reached a certain key positioning. And that occurs with what Thoth calls the heart ascension. That's where the heart ascension is the most important part of all this ascending business. You ain't going nowhere without the heart ascension, because you can reach it to a point, and then you tap the dome wall or the dome ceiling of the what Thoth calls the Aegea or Aegea. I can never say these words, and that is a limit that we have unless we create the heart ascension dynamic that's so profound that we can move through it. So you don't have to worry about flinging yourself off into the void at that point. But you can allow yourself to move through these cycles of bringing it up to the crown and back down again. For us, it's important that when you spin this and you see the spinner field moving up with its key, that it's like a little plate on top of a pedestal. And the pedestal moves up, the plate moves up. And when you get it to the top, and also the spinner field, the circle that the swastika spinner field is making, is when you start moving it up, it becomes narrower. In other words, it's not as wide. It doesn't go as far out from the body. When you get it up to the top of the head, it's just like a little halo around the head, because it's focusing upward more than outward at that point. So how do you do this? You simply find a way in your own heart of hearts to visualize this, whatever feels comfortable to you. I'm going to be putting a PDF out with the pictures. I could not write it all up. As you can see, I'm trying to explain it in various ways, and without, it's difficult to write it all down. I could, but it would take a very long time. And so this is the faster way and the easier way for me to do it, and I need easy right now in my life. So you have the video to kind of help you understand it. I will put the images in a PDF file, which I'll have a link to where I've embedded this video. And so you can follow and look at the pictures and, kind of get it in your mind how you want to work it. But you need to see yourself in a three-dimensional imagery here rather than this little, flat image. And as you look around yourself, and you can spin the camera around yourself, you can see how the 16 points start lighting up. Now remember, we have those 16 points. Let me get back to that again. They're actually 16 nodes, but they're little miniature holographic worlds, little miniature, not worlds, but, potential holographic starting points. And so as the spinner field spins in the middle and it's carrying you up with the blossom stem dynamic, you're going to be pinging these. Some of them will already have been, since you're starting your spin at the solar, some of these fields are already active, the ones below the solar center accelerator bar. The ones above the accelerator bar will start being active as you move your blossom stem upward. So you've done this, you've gotten it going, and you're like at the top of the top. So what happens then? Well, it's important to stay there for a while and allow the energies to move. You're going to feel different things, and maybe experience some vision things, maybe see some little flashes of light. Maybe you're not going to feel anything at first. You're going to have to work with it before you know you really start feeling something. But that's okay. But what it is doing for you, it is developing your ability to be interrelated with the Arieopax holographic projection, so that when things start spinning, and they already are, on a world level, on a planetary level, on a geo-light synchronic level for the entire hologram of Earth, of humans, of everything, you're going to be more in sync with it. You're going to be more capable, able to jump into the Pyramidus radius matrix dynamic. Now, it's not something that you have to do in order to ascend. No. You don't have to do it in order to be included in the Pyramidus radius matrix. This makes it easier. This makes it smoother, and this gives you, in the now moment, more of the experience. You're not having to wait for it. So these are the things that it accelerates within you. Joe Blow out there milking his dairy cows on his little farm, not the big factories, but the little guy out there, the little guy out there plucking the corn out of the fields. And they're people who have good heart resonance. They may not all know all of this fancy stuff, and maybe they aren't ascended masters or anything, but they're good people. And they've been good people. And they come, they help people out. They think of the best things that they know can help the planet. Maybe they don't even, know enough yet to know what to do, but they're there and waiting to learn. They're not shut off. Those people are going to be in that Pyramidus radius, whether they know diddly squat about what I'm talking about here. However, knowing about it from whatever perspective, whether it's mine or someone else is giving you basically the same information from another, terminology, is going to aid you in creating not only a better field for you now and an more easeful passage for you into this next stage, but it is also going to help out the dairy farmer and the little guys. And I say little, I don't mean the corporate machos, but the persons who operate things on the earth and things in their lives, even if they're dance instructors or gasoline, attendants or whatever, and they have good thoughts about humanity. They have their foibles and their flaws, but they're basically good people. What you're doing is you're giving them a broader field of light centricity. That's the word that Thoth is giving me. Even though they don't know about it, you're helping them out because their spirituality is going to connect to that you put into the Akasha and that you've done the work on. They're going to connect to that, and you're going to give them that helping hand to bring them through. Because in some past lives, they knew all about it. For whatever reason, in this lifetime, they have a little bit of amnesia. They're not really connected to it. Whatever, maybe this family responsibilities got them so down and took them so off the path, and all the money problems and everything. They never got the leisure to sit around and study this stuff, So they weren't caught up in it. But we can help them out by creating these dynamics in various ways. This is one of them. So we help us out individually, and we help everyone out. And actually, it also helps disperse the more negative lower energies. What I'm becoming aware of this term archon. It's not a word that Thoth has ever used for me. So, but there's so much about it on the web, and they're saying the archons are the negative ETs and the negative this and the negative that, the bad guys all the way around, off-planet bad guys. Well, I took this to Thoth, and he said, I took it into Thoth Intelligence, and I received that the archon is really a cloud, a cosmic cloud, interdimensional, that spawns negative realities. Negative, let's not use the word negative, because then we're getting into, we're contradicting ourselves with the energy thing. That spawns lower thought engendered species. So that's another topic, and I'm going to be approaching this in probably the next Zoomcast, so I won't get off on it. But the point is that the Arieopax, Thoth had said, and I have it in material that I wrote a long time ago, the Arieopax is the healing dynamic. It has the potential to heal not just individuals, but the universal tear. And that's another whole thing we're going to be talking about later. But bear that in mind, that when you're working with this dynamic, in whatever way you're working with, you're facilitating a healing function that helps yourself, others, and the planet. And it also helps to disperse and sort of clean up this archon cloud energy that has infiltrated into our planetary spectrum. Getting about ready to conclude with this video, but this is another cool diagram that William Buehler did that incorporates my Thothic information, and I can't even read all the little things right now. My eyes are not that good, and they're kind of pale on the scan, but you get an idea here of this whole accelerating dynamic. The Alpha North Star alignment position of Theta Draconis. Now, I'm not sure. And then the Metatronic Alpha Omega spiral. This is the whole spiral. So the bottom one is the Omega South Star alignment, and that's the Golden Star of Mazariel. So here we have a dynamic. This is a universal dynamic beyond one universe. And we're talking about our Atosic universe when we speak of the Golden Star of Mazariel. And then the center one and with the center one, I'm trying to read what it says here, but I believe that might be, speaking of the calibration star. I'm obviously lost right now in the whole, believe me, this material that I was working with at this time and how Bill put it together, this is so many years ago, I don't remember, but really what I wanted to show it to you for is that this is a basic schematic for understanding that there's a whole universal beyond this universe. It's like a dimensional widening of the understanding of what a universe is and how it relates to other universes and how we can traverse from one universe to another. And that's all to be found in this configuration. So I'm just showing it to you. It might trigger something by just looking at it. Perhaps we can get Bill to elaborate on this particular diagram, because I don't remember, on a future Zoomcast. So, where are we now to conclude? Back to our blossom stem and our swirling little seagull field. So to recap, you visualize all of this with you as the man in the center. You see the blossom stem key moving the seagull field up, up, up in increments to each chakra above the solar plexus. You start with the solar plexus. You see, once you turn on the seagull field and it starts spinning, it's already just suctioning up everything in the lower half. It's like it just gets that going right away. the motion upward determines how it's gearing up to higher levels. So first you get the Siegel field started just where it is. You're turning it to the right, toward your right hand. And you move it that direction. And as you spin it and you start getting comfortable with spinning it at the solar, you move it up to the heart. Then you move it up to the high heart, which is in between, but you're probably going to feel a jump there. Then to the throat. Then to the third eye. And then to the crown. And that's where you hit the cap. You spin it there for a while, and then you bring it back down. And when you bring it back down, you're not going to be jumping. It's just going to go, and it's going to come down. And realize that the stem and the blossom, actually the blossom effect on the top, the petals are going to double each time you bring it up to a point. You don't have to remember all this, really. It's just, just kind of keeping it in the back of your mind. And just doing that process, I mean, at first it might take you 10 minutes, but probably take you about 3 or 4 to go through it very quickly after a while, because you'll feel it. When you really start feeling it, that's when it really starts working for you. So I'm going to conclude now for this particular one, and we'll see what comes next. Thank you for listening.